Hi guys, it's your good friend Carl from Gray Matters. Yet another fuzzy video. I promise I'll get that fixed one day in the not too distant future. So, just wanted to go over something. So, as you may know if you've been checking in and following us, I am not 100%. Okay, pardon me, not professional here. Great Matters is coming from a position of, I don't want to say neutrality, but open-minded, unbiased, no preconceived notions is where Great Matters is going to be coming from. So, while I do personally lean right, I do not dismiss everything people on the left say or believe, which is an unfortunate problem that we have when any political discussion goes on, and that's what I want to touch on today. So we're now 2 days into this new administration, and I find myself, having discussions with people, and I'm trying to have intelligent academic discussions with people about just various topics. So I was trying to have a discussion the other day with someone. They're a very left-wing, Democrat-leaning type person. They're very, very liberal in their thinking. And they're a friend of mine. But we were discussing things, and the conversation turned to Donald Trump and how he got elected, and so I was kind of defending Trump in the fact that saying that whether you love him or hate him, he got elected for some very specific reasons, and part of Donald Trump's appeal was that he was an outsider, and Democrats hated him for that. Republicans really hated him for that. At least the hardcore establishment Republicans really hated Donald Trump for being an outsider. But it's a lesson that the Republicans might want to take to heart, for the fact that it proved that someone who's not a politician. Oh, I forgot. Now I remember what we're talking about. We were talking about how there's very little faith. People have very little faith in our institutions and our government. And I'm like, that's what got Donald Trump elected. Is that this guy was trying to blame the lack of faith in government on Donald Trump. And I'm like, no, it was there way before Trump. He's like, well, Trump brought it to a whole new level. Maybe so. But Obama also increased the lack of faith. Bush Jr. increased the lack of faith. Clinton increased the lack of faith. We've been losing faith in our government for years, and it's because of lying politicians. And because politicians would say one thing to get elected, and then they wouldn't do it, wouldn't even try. And Donald Trump, in that one respect, was probably the most honest president we've ever had. What he tried, and he showed clear evidence that he was trying to do pretty much everything he said in his campaign. Everything he promised, he attempted to do, and with great effort. Sure, plenty of other presidents have tried to do things, other politicians have tried to accomplish things, but no one has, to my knowledge, to my memory, has been so to the letter about what they said in the campaign, at least in their attempt. Now, he didn't achieve everything. He didn't fail. He changed course on a couple of things too, actually. But the fact of the matter is, he tried. And the fact that he was an outsider and he was just being genuine. He was being, even if it was a fake, it was a good fake, because he was committed to that fake. If he was lying and the whole thing was an act, then boy, he's probably one of the greatest actors who ever lived. So, look, hate him or love him, people have lost faith in our institutions. And the point I want to get to is, I was trying to have this academic discussion. I'm not saying Donald Trump was a great president. I'm not saying, and I wasn't even saying that he deserved to be president. What I was saying when I was arguing with him is, I was simply saying that part of the reason he got elected, probably a big part of the reason he got elected, is because he wasn't a politician. And this guy, and actually, well, not just this guy, several people just did not want to accept that. They could not accept that I said anything that wasn't completely negative about Donald Trump, and that's not cool, man. That's not where we need to be in our political discourse. I'm not a fan of Biden. There's a lot of things about Biden's history in politics that should make everyone be very worried. He's already taken some steps I disagree with. Some I'm kind of on. But we can't just, when someone has a differing opinion on a topic, whatever it may be, you can't just kick them out. You can't just dismiss them or dismiss their beliefs. That's how we got here. It's kind of like an arms race. It's like, okay, well, if you get guns, we'll get guns, and then we're gonna get bigger guns, and then you'll get bigger guns, and then you'll get bigger guns, and you'll get bigger guns. Then we're gonna get tanks and planes and bombs and nuclear missiles. It's an arms race, but it's an ideological arms race. It's like, oh, okay, you're gonna go that far, we're gonna go this far. You're not gonna let us have this, and we're not gonna let you have that. And then it's a back and forth, and it's just grown and grown and grown and built the divide and built the distrust, and the Republicans have, part of the reason they were doing so poorly before Donald Trump came along, and Donald Trump did help the Republicans in a lot of ways. He hurt them in probably more ways, but he's helped them in a lot of ways. In the fact that, look, like I said, there's a lot of lessons the Republicans could learn from Donald Trump, and I really hope they do. I have no problem with Donald Trump's direction, only in his execution. He went about doing some of the things he tried to do in some very questionable ways. But we can't just dismiss one another. We have to talk through these things. And this gets into the big issues. Race issues. There's some hard conversations that need to be had, and there's some hard truths that everyone needs to face. Like a lot of my black friends constantly point out about this, how there's so much more racism than people realize. And they are absolutely right. And it's not even necessarily that people don't realize it, it's just they hate to admit that it's there. And, but there is a lot more there. But a lot of African American people have to understand, and they're going to have to admit, that while it's not okay, I'm not saying it's okay, I'm just saying that there are varying degrees of racism. Like, when I think of racism, when I think of a racist, I think of someone like a skinhead or neo-Nazi or a Klan member who just hates. I mean, they hate black people. They want bad things to happen to black people. They want horrible, nasty. That's where my brain goes when you say racist. So when you call me a racist for saying something that's not 100% in line with what you believe, even though what we're talking about may not have anything to do with race, which happens, it does. When you call me racist, I think that's what I picture you calling me, is this mean, angry, hateful monster. And that's because that's where my brain goes when I think of a racist. Now, there are other people who are technically racist, but they don't, it comes down to intent. I'm not going to get into it. Save that for another show. And that brings me back to Donald Trump. A lot of the things he did, I think his intent was actually noble and genuine. He wanted to do good, and he thought that was the way to do it. Look, Obamacare was and the ACA was not the best law. It's still not the best law. It needs so much fixing. I mean, it probably should be thrown out and something better written in its place. It did have a lot of good points, a lot of benefit. You know, the pre-existing conditions thing, that needs to stick around. Because I've agreed with that since I was a teenager. I've always thought it was stupid that you can't get health insurance and it costs you more for treatment if you have a pre-existing condition. I mean, I understand the math behind it, but I'm like, I don't understand. I mean, it's like, okay, we'll just charge them more, but find a, you know, with insurance companies, it's a law of averages, sliding averages. So they can average it out. There's a way to do it and not necessarily charge the healthy people more. There's a way. You know, overcharging for, there's so much that needs to be worked out. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to help get us down the road with gray matters. But the thing is, we can't go down any of these roads toward finding actual solutions, which is what I want gray matters to be about solutions. And we can't get down those roads if people aren't willing to accept that they might be wrong, or that there might be something more than what they believe. Sure, maybe what they believe is right, or, you know, maybe the facts they have are correct, but it doesn't necessarily mean there might be more facts that need to be introduced that you have to accept. You know, you can't. We can't just be totally dismissing the one side or the other because you didn't like that person or that guy or that one thing they did. You know, and the Republicans are guilty of this. Democrats are guilty of this. Hell, libertarians are guilty of this. You know, we have to start acting like adults, because this is a country where people are allowed to have vastly differing opinions on everything. It's okay to not believe in God. It's okay to believe in God. It's okay to believe and worship Satan. If that's what you believe, then that's what you believe. It's okay to be a Democrat. It's okay to be a Republican. You know, there are parts of that aren't okay, but you can't dismiss Republicans as a whole because that some people who cling to the Republican Party are racist dicks. The whole Republican Party is not a bunch of racist dicks. There are plenty. There are racist dicks in the Democrat Party, but I mean, it just boils down to, we can't dismiss these conversations. We can't dismiss one another's thoughts and opinions. It's purely based on our own thoughts and opinions. And they'll say, well, we're basing this on facts. A lot of the facts I hear people, both Republican and Democrat, quote, are they take one tiny factoid and they try to balloon it into a cogent argument which totally supports their entire philosophy. And that's just not the way you do it. You can't take a sugar cube and build a massive, you know, castle on it. So we can't just dismiss things. We can't dismiss one another. Well, guys, I'm getting to where I'm going. So open your minds and realize that whatever you believe you believe in conservatism, liberalism, socialism, patriotism, whatever ism you support, you could be wrong. Probably are, at least to some degree. That's nothing we got to understand. We're not all 100% right. You might be 50, 60, 80, 90% right, but probably not 100% right about anything. So we got to get open-minded. So guys, look for more. I'm currently working on a immigration special. We're going to talk about immigration in my next video. So guys, make sure you tune in and check that out. It'll be a interesting conversation. I'm learning a lot about immigration in my research. So tune in. See you guys later.